welcome everybody to our Arcview Access event today, Psychedelics as Medicine and Venture Opportunities. I'm Jeff Finkel, CEO of the Arcview Group, and I'm really excited today about this program, and particularly excited to bring you programming that extends our traditional cannabis-focused subject matter into related industries like psychedelics, and as you will see in the near future, industrial hemp. So today, as part of our Arcview Accessing programming series, we're going to help audience members understand the fundamentals of psychedelics, how they can assist with a variety of behavioral health disorders, such as anxiety and non-treatable depression, the legalities of the industry, and what makes it a compelling investment opportunity. But before we begin our programming, let me introduce you, or reintroduce you as the case may be, to the Arcview Group, which has evolved quite a bit over the last 2 years, as has our industry in general, and have many of you. The Arcview Group is a financial services firm that operates 3 subsidiaries: Arcview Capital, our FINRA licensed broker-dealer, which provides investment banking services and is soon launching a crowdfunding site; Arcview Ventures, our principal investing group, and operator of the Arcview Collective Fund, a member-managed venture capital fund with 78 active limited partner members; and Arcview Management Consulting, our consulting group offering cannabis license pursuit and growth management and a variety of other practice areas. All right, so with that, let's move on to the programming. It's my pleasure to introduce Colin O'Reilly of Arcview Capital. Colin will introduce the panel and he will moderate today's session. So thank you all, and take it away, Colin.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. I'm excited to introduce the 5 panelists we have today as well, and thanks to everybody for joining, especially to the panelists. We have a good group here, a host of folks smarter than me, and I'm excited to, this is our second psychedelic event here, and I'm very excited to explore this further with the expertise we have here together today. So a lot to cover in an hour. We have Dr. Gigi Q and Olivia Mannix from Aphrodite Health, Tom Zuber, managing partner from Zuber Lawler, Wiley Gray from Veterans of War, and Henri St. Cassieff, co-founding partner of the Conscious Fund. And without further ado, I will introduce Olivia and Wiley for the initial conversation here. Sorry, Dr. Gigi Ku and Wiley for the initial conversation here. And Wiley, I think we could start with you about the work you're doing with the Veterans of War.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. As you said, my name is Wiley Gray, and I'm the executive director of Veterans of War, which is a nationwide nonprofit that seeks to connect teams of veterans to guided psychedelic therapy. I got into this business because there's a very real need in the veteran sector. Right now, we as a veteran community lose more veterans in a year to a preventable outcome in suicide than we have in 20 years of active combat operations. For over 15 years now, the suicide epidemic has rocked my community. I served in the Marines from 2000 until 2008, active duty. I came home and I went to a really good school, and I feel very fortunate to be able to have any platform whatsoever with which to be able to talk about, what veterans are really kind of going through in today's day, especially as it relates to mental health care and the VA. When I came back, things were really in shambles, and the traditional mental health care field was one which the paradigm seemed to support. Here's a handful of pills. Let us know how that helps you. Unfortunately, what we've seen over the course of the last 15 years, as I mentioned, is not a cessation in the suicide epidemic. In fact, it's stayed steady. It's grown some years, in fact. What we really need is solutions. And the statistic is jarring, but it actually kind of minimizes the real numbers. When we say 17 veterans a day die to suicide, what that really accounts to is more than 6,000 a year, and that's a crazy, crazy number. And it's completely preventable. And I think that's where psychedelics sort of enter the equation. When I found them really only 5 years ago, it was after struggling many, many years with depression, with insomnia, with a high anxiety, and honestly, just a really horrible quality of life. And what I work for and what I really believe in is creating a path for veterans to sort of really come home. I think that's not a lot to ask. And when it comes to safe and effective solutions for recovery from the unseen scars of war and psychological trauma, I don't know that there's anything on the planet that works with the complete and total support of science better than psychedelics. It's safe, and for me and for the groups that I lead to healing ceremonies all around the world, it's shown to be an incredible connector. It helps people find their sense of self again, their sense of community, their sense of interconnectivity. So when we talk about psychedelics, as an investment opportunity, obviously it absolutely is. But what we really need to talk about is the human toll on the line, which is, the huge base of humanity right now that's suffering from trauma. And we're going to desperately need effective medicines to combat that. And I think that's for me what the psychedelic journey is, sort of how it got me into this space.
Thanks, Wiley. I think Dr. Koo on the patient treatment side could help expand upon what this treatment looks like. I'm sure everyone's really curious as to, what an inpatient and outpatient scenario looks like and what the integration afterwards looks like. It's new to a lot of folks, so.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me here on Arcview. It's a great pleasure to be here. Let me just start with by way of my background. I'm a Mount Sinai trained physician. My specialty is chronic pain management. I have a subspecialty in traumatic brain injury, and I've been doing that for more than 20 plus years. I've been in biotech for more than 10 plus years. I've co-founded several companies, including a wound therapy company that has an FDA-approved product. I've also been a co-founder of a psychedelic company called Trip Therapeutics that I co-founded with my husband, Jim Koo. Trip focuses on using psychedelics for eating disorders and fibromyalgia, which is basically pain all over your body. So I really got interested in the psychedelic space because of my background in chronic pain. There's a lot of need to improve the treatments for chronic pain, because honestly, the treatments that we have are really not very helpful. We have anti-inflammatories on one end, and we have opioids on the other end, and we know all the terrible things that opioids have done to many families in this country. And so when I started reading about what psychedelics could do for the mental health space, I started to feel that they really could be applied to chronic pain and traumatic brain injury. And because chronic pain is really a brain disorder, it's a problem with how pain is perceived and how pain is processed. And I felt that psychedelics could have a huge potential in that area. And that's how I really got interested in the space. And I really, as time goes on, you'll see a lot of companies and different organizations really looking at psychedelics, not just for your classic mental health conditions like anxiety and depression, but really for multiple other neurological conditions, such as dementia, stroke, even sexual dysfunction. So it's a really exciting place to be, and I'm very fortunate to be here.
Yeah, it sounds like there's potentially a gap to be bridged here between, Wiley's work in the retreat setting domestically and internationally, and you more focused on a clinical setting with a different, not to say not offensively, but a more refined approach, possibly with clinical trials and those kinds of things that Wiley's do as well. But it's Eastern versus Western almost. And how's that? What's the hurdle for people to not look at it so much in the traditional setting and more of the a medicalized setting and see the value of both?
Sure, that's a great question. I don't think what I'm involved in or what Wiley is are really polar opposites. I think what we're trying to do is provide better outcomes to physicians